start or should I wait? I think it's okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم غلبت الروم. My dear respected elders and brothers, mothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last week we finished Surah Al-Ankabut. That was the 29th surah, and it's in the 21st juz. Today we are starting the 30th surah of the Quran, Ar-Rum. A little connection of the surah that we finished last week and this surah. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He mentioned that وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا, that those people who strive in our way or strive for our sake, we will guide them to many, many paths. And guidance here can mean the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this surah, in Surah Al-Rum, Allah ta'ala is showing an-nusratu ba'd al-mujahada, how Allah ta'ala assists those people after they struggle for the sake of deen. This Surah Al-Rum, it's a Makki surah, meaning it was revealed before the Hijrah. And these ayats which came down, غُلِبَتِ الرُّوم, they came down 5 years before Hijrah, 5 years before the Sahaba and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated from Mecca to Medina. And it was what we would call, like today, a current event. Because at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the main superpowers were the Romans and the Persians. They had been running the show for hundreds of years. And they were always at each other's necks and fighting each other, like many superpowers are close to doing now these days, and it's been for a while. And sometimes the Romans would have their power and seem to be more powerful, sometimes the Persians. But in this one war that happened 5 years before Hijrah, it was a war that the Romans, they lost, and they lost in such a way, in such a bad way also, that it looked like they wouldn't be able to recover. All the analysts at that time, there was no analyst, of course, I'm just speaking about today, but all the people who understand the current events and those who talked about it and got the khabar at that time, they all said that, listen, the Romans got defeated and they're finished, they're done. They can never recover from this. Now, of course, why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning this in the Quran? Why would it, war of Romans and Persians, and why would it be that? The reason being is because this had a direct effect on the Muslims and the mushrikeen. The mushrikeen who were bothering the Muslims, fighting with them, and looking towards taking over the Muslims, the few Muslims that were of the Muhajirin and those who were staying and living in Mecca, they took this as a good omen, that, oh, now the Romans have been defeated, and the Romans are the believers of Isa alayhi salam, they're Christians and they are Ahl Kitab, and we are mushrikeen and we are idolaters, and though the Persians are different than us, they worship fire, but they don't believe in the Ahl Kitab and the progeny of the prophets, they don't believe in that. So this is a good sign for us of things to come, that the same way that the Persians have defeated the Romans, in the same way we will defeat you too, O Muslims. So it was a little bit of a hit for the Muslims, the fact that the Romans lost and they cared, and they wanted to, they knew that if the Romans had won and the Ahl Kitab won, this is better for our morale, better for the world also. They're not as oppressive as the Persians also, who have no type of Sharia, no type of any type of connection with the Anbiya. They make up the rules as they go on. So the Muslims and the mushrikeen, they were in this type of argument, hearing about this war. They were in this type of argument, and they were talking about this, which goes to show us also that this surah will also shed some light for us about the wrong idea that a person who believes in Allah Ta'ala and is a good Muslim, that he should have no type of connection with current affairs. This is a wrong belief. What's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in other parts of the world, it's extremely important that we understand and we know that. Because as Muslims, it can directly affect us. And we'll talk about Khairul Bariyatain, which inshallah I'll go into. So, this is the reason why this surah has been sent down. So 5 years before Hijrah, the Romans had to fight with the Persians. They had a fight in a place called Al-Dhara'at, which Allah Ta'ala will talk about. Fi adna al-ardh. It was basically the end of the Arab borders, and a little bit farther out in Basra, which was run by the Romans. That's why Allah Ta'ala called it Fi adna al-ardh, in the most closest earth to you, O Muslims. It was not very far. Leave the Arab lands, of course you got to cross to a lot of desert, and then you get out to the borders, and then you enter into Basra, which is Iraq and those places, and they were Romans at that time. And this was the place where they had the war, and the Romans suffered a very bad loss. So in that loss now, the mushrikeen started rejoicing and saying that we will beat you the same way that the Romans were defeated over there. So Allah Ta'ala mentions here that Alif Lam Mim, which as we know, we've talked about it before, these are the huruf al-muqatta'at. These are those huruf and those letters that come in the beginning of many surahs, which Allah Ta'ala has revealed, and only Allah and His Rasul know the meanings of them. So the tafsir and best tafsir of it is Allahu a'lamu bi muradihi bi. Allah Ta'ala knows best what He intended with that. Allah Ta'ala knows what the meaning is. We don't understand what the meaning is. And then ghulibat al-Rum. Ghulibat al-Rum means the Romans have been defeated. The Romans have been defeated. في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون. Allah Ta'ala says, in the closest earth. And they, the Romans, after they have been defeated, سيغلبون, will defeat the Faris. They will defeat the Persians. Now this is where it got a little bit controversial in regards to the mushrikeen. And this is where the Quran started now showing its greatness. That, okay, the Romans lost, and we understand that, and we know that, and we got the khabar of that. But now you're saying that those Romans who have been kicked to the ground, and looks like they're not going to get up, they have suffered a great loss, and the Persians are in victory, and the Romans will never rebound from that. You're saying that those Romans are going to win again? That's impossible. But the Quran said it. And the Quran said that وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ, that after they have been defeated, the Romans, soon you will see they will defeat the Persians. Now, it's a fortune telling, and a telling of the future from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Quran which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reciting. So now this became something very big amongst the Sahaba and amongst the mushrikeen, and it became the talk of the town. What's going on here? And now they're saying they're going to win, and what do you guys got to, how are you saying that? How could you claim that? And it's one of those great claims of the Quran, which now they're going to see it come true right in front of their faces. Allah Ta'ala mentions after this, في بضع سنين لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah Ta'ala says, فِي بِضْعِ سِنِينَ, in a few years. In a few years. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum had so much yaqeen and so much conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala said that the Romans will become victorious, they all knew that it was going to happen. And amongst the Sahaba, the one with the most yaqeen was Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. He had such great conviction. And he was not shy to go in front of the mushrikeen and tell them when they started making fun of them that the Romans got defeated, you people will get defeated also like them. So Abu Bakr told them that no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they will get defeated soon, the Persians, and the Romans will win. And he said, في بضع سنين, in a few years. One of the mushrikeen, who we've heard his name before, who was one of the leaders, and one who died in the war of Badr, Ubay bin Khalaf. He then, after that, made a bet with Abu Bakr. And he said it's not going to happen. The Romans will never be able to come back. At that time, gambling, there was nothing said about it in regards to the Quran. There wasn't, Allah had not talked about it yet to the Sahaba about what you can do. So Abu Bakr, anhu, he told them that, listen, I bet you in 3 years, that the Romans will defeat the Persians, I bet you 5 camels for it. 5 camels was a big bet. So then after that, Ubay ibn Khalaf said, okay, yes, we will do that, no problem. So then after that, Abu Bakr goes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he tells Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that I have the yaqeen in Allah Ta'ala, I know what's going to happen, the Romans will win, I placed the bet with Ubay ibn Khalaf, and inshallah that bet's going to come through. I told him in 3 years, the Romans will win. Allah is going to show me. Rasulullah said, why did you do that for? Allah Ta'ala said, fi bid'i sinin. And the Arabic word bid'a is from 3 to 9 or 3 to 10. There's difference of opinion amongst the Arab, but it's 3 to 10. A few years, it means 3 to 10 bid'ah. So why'd you say only 3? It could happen after that. Allah has not made that promise in 3 years. Allah said from 3 to 10 it could happen. So go back and make sure you don't do that and fix that. Abu Bakr goes back to Ubay bin Khalaf. And he tells him that, listen, I know that you're going to have the shak and try and think that I'm trying to get out of this. But I made a mistake. And my Allah Ta'ala said, bid'i sinin. And that is 3 to 10. And I said only 3. So I want to increase the time. Okay. Cold feet. You're getting cold feet now. But he says, with the increase in time, I increase the bet to 100 camels also. Let's do that. Let's see. Let's get the stakes high. So then Ubay ibn Khalaf said, okay, let's do it. Let's do that. Lo and behold, Allah Ta'ala, 7 years later, on what a day? The day of Badr. When the Muslims beat the mushrikeen, the khabar came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from Jibreel that, O Muslims, not only you are victorious today in Badr, and you have beaten the mushrikeen, but the Romans have also beaten the Persians also again. So on that day, the Muslims were so happy that they had gotten their own fulfillment of their promise that Allah Ta'ala will through their hands, take revenge for all the things that the mushrikeen did to them. And also, the wahi and the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had come true and come to light right before them. That now the Romans, they defeated the Faris and the Persians also. And that defeat also finished the Persians. The Persians were never able to really recover after that. That's why Allah Ta'ala said, في بضع سنين, in a few years. لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد. And the mu'amala, or you can say the affair, the victory and the loss of this war, min qablu wa min ba'd, before when the Romans lost, and after when the Romans defeated, that mu'amala and that affair and the decision of who wins and loses is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we always have to make sure that even though we get involved in current affairs and we find out what's going on, but there is no entity and there is no power that can control these things except who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a limit that a Muslim has. Allah Ta'ala is the one who knows who's victorious, to izzu man tasha, to dhillu man tasha. Allah Ta'ala is the one who gives the honor to who He wants, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the disgrace to whoever He wants. So Allah Ta'ala said that, O my Sahaba, O Muslims, remember that don't get involved too much that you think that now they are in control of the affairs. This affair is in my hand. I told you who lost, and I told you who's going to win later on. وَيَوْمَئِذِ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And on that day, and when that day will happen, when the mu'mineen, when the believers, they become happy. And this is talking about the day of Badr. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the affairs, whether the Romans lost or won, is in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. And also the affair was in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when 313 Sahaba were ill-equipped, with no weapons, with very few conveyances and horses and camels. They beat the mushrikeen, who were 1,000, more than 1,000, with many, many conveyances, and filled up with the best of weapons at the time. That day also, the amr was the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Ta'ala mentions on that day when they were happy. They were happy with the Badr, and also happy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He fulfilled the promise that He had said in the Quran. After that, Ubay bin Khalaf, of course, what happened with the bed? Already the ayat of Quran had come down where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made qimar, had made the gambling haram. So he wasn't allowed to do it anymore. So Ubay bin Khalaf had passed away in Badr. His family, they fulfilled the promise and they fulfilled the bet, and they sent 100 camels. Abu Bakr received those camels and gave them sadaqah in the path of Allah Ta'ala, obviously without the niyat of thawab, because it was not, he wasn't able to accept it as the gamble, and he gave it to the fuqara muslimin and gave it as sadaqah. Maybe some told him you cannot accept it in regards to yourself. Now again, another right turn takes place in this surah. Allah Ta'ala says, بِنَصْرِ اللَّهِ يَنْصُرُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. Allah Ta'ala says, بِنَصْرِ اللَّهِ. Meaning what? This is going back to وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ بِنَصْرِ اللَّهِ. That the Romans, after they were defeated, they will defeat the Persians with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, a very big complaint or question comes on this. That the Romans, who were disbelievers, they didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were Ahl Kitab, but they had, of course, their great evils. They were into the dunya, zina, and all these different things were very, very common amongst them. And obviously, later on, they fought with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were not the best group of people. So how could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assist such people? So the answer the ulama have given is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you have two evils in front of you, Allah ta'ala chooses khayrul baliyatayn. What is the best of the two evils? Nisbatan, in relation or in comparison to the Persians, the Romans were much better people. They believed in Isa alayhi salam, so they had some type of connection with the kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were living by many rules that Isa alayhi salam had brought also. They had a little bit of justice in them, and they were much better off than the Persians, who were worshipping fire and had no rules at all. Whatever they wanted to do, they do. They were crazy. So the answer would be that nisbatan, in regards to the relation or regards to the comparison of those who were the Romans and those who were the Persians, Allah Ta'ala helped out the Romans because they were better. They were better. And it even gives it more strength that the victory of the Romans was something that was going to be beneficial for the Muslims also. One is two people are fighting, and there's one who's better, but it's got nothing to do with Islam, and it's not going to do anything for the Muslims. A lot of things happen. People are fighting in some corner of the world, in some jungle. It's got nothing to do with Islam. It's not going to help us. But here you have a case where these two people are fighting, and now we're going to see who's the ruler and the leader of the world going to be, and now it's going to be the Romans. That's better for the Muslims. That's going to be much better for the Muslims. Because after that, you know that Rasulullah sent out the letters. And Parvez, who was the leader of the Faris and leader of the Persians at that time, Parvez, Rasulullah sent him a letter as well. The Romans, they read it, and even you'll find the stories of how the Roman leader had mentioned to the Sahaba at that time was Abdullah bin Hudhafa, how he mentioned it to him that if this Rasul came here, I'd wash his feet. He was very, very intrigued by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He knew about the Bible, and when he heard about Rasulullah, he knew that Rasulullah was coming, and he kind of, but he didn't. We'll do the story some other time. But he didn't accept, and later on even fought against Rasulullah. But when he went to the Persians, and went to Pervez and gave him the letter, without even reading it, Pervez, he ripped it up and threw it in his face. Who am I going to read the letter from? Who's this Rasulullah? Which was something at that time which was world-renowned, known. It was known in the world that you do not disrespect the messenger. This was a very lowly thing that he did. When the messenger comes, you read the message. If you disagree with it, with respect, you give the person his food, give him lodging, tell him I cannot fulfill that, and you can go the next day. But please sleep and have some. This was the world-known rules that you don't mess with the messenger. He ripped it up. Abdullah bin Hudhafa had to run out of there and said, let me get out of here before. When he went back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so he told him that, oh Rasulullah, mazzaka, he ripped up your letter. So Rasulullah just said, may Allah Ta'ala rip his kingdom up like he ripped up my letter. It was only a month later that his own son to become king killed him. His own son to become king poisoned him and killed him just to become the king. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here says, binasrillah. Binasrillah here will mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped the ones who were better. And from this ulama, and I talked this about when we were in our big session in the beginning of the year about voting, and unfortunately that didn't work out. You know, I never talk about voting. I've never really voted in my life also, but this year I felt there was a need, and Masaj was saying, let's speak about it, and I talked about it, and I told the people that, listen, you can vote because the better of the worst. I gave the surah, I don't know if you remember, I talked about the surah, and Khairul Baliyah, picking the better of the two bads. That was what I was talking about. And one thing I told the people, and was really what had been going on in so many years, is that, you know, the person who has more votes is going to win probably. So we need to get out there and vote. And lo and behold, the year I gave my bayan, like a big sheikh and thinking I know about voting, so the one who lost had more votes. So there goes my bayan. So, but here, many ulama have spoken and have talked about in regards to current events and in regards to voting, when people are forced to pick a leader and things like this. From this, the usul of khairul baliyatain has come. That in many situations, you have to pick the better of the worst. There's two bad situations, like for example, many times in the countries like Pakistan and India and Arab countries, when they have the elections and things like this, both of them, both of them, they have a long list of gharba, right? Long list of problems. But there's always one that, you can say that we'd probably be better off if that one. This guy's really bad, this one's better off. So from this, the ulama have taken this usul out of picking the better of the two bads. Yansuru ma yasha, Allah Ta'ala himself says, Allah Ta'ala can help wherever he wants. If Allah Ta'ala wants to help, like he did even the prophets, if he wants to help them to defeat the Romans, and that of course would not be calling the nusrat of Allah Ta'ala, but that would be more connected with the imtihan of the Romans. Right? A person may say that, what about the fathers? They were helped, they won the first war. Did Allah Ta'ala pick them? They were the better? No, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps the people, not because it's the better of the two, but because he wants to give an imtihan and a test to those who are the good so they can learn from it. Yansuru ma yasha, Allah Ta'ala says he can assist anyone who wants, wa huwa al-azizur rahim. After this, Allah Ta'ala mentions, wa'adallah. It is Allah Ta'ala's promise. Allah Ta'ala has made a promise. لا يخلف الله وعده ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Allah Ta'ala does not go against his promise, but most people, they do not know. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showing that what was the main thing about the end of this story? Allah Ta'ala fulfilled the promise. He had said, وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدَ غَلَبِهِمْ يَسَيَغْلِبُونَ, that the Faris and the Persians, they're going to win. And they're going to have victory. And Allah Ta'ala did that as a promise to the Muslims. Now I'm fulfilling my promise. I always fulfill my promise. I never go against my promise. But this is something that the mushrikeen never benefited from. They never saw that Allah Ta'ala is making a promise. The promise was fulfilled. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most people, they don't understand this. The promises of Allah Ta'ala come to light and are manifest right before us. But most of the people, 9 out of 10, turn their face and they say that it must be for some other reason that this happened. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now talks about why they cannot understand the wa'ad of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why can they not understand and see how Allah Ta'ala fulfills His promises? And Allah Ta'ala says, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِّنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. Most of the time, the promise of Allah Ta'ala is passing in front, and we are blind to it and we don't see it. Why? Ghaflat, unmindfulness. Allah Ta'ala says, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِّنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. They know the external factors of dunya. Zahir. All the external factors of dunya, they know. The computers that came out, the systems, they know about it. The sports teams, what they're doing, they know about it. The singers, what they're doing, they know about it. Ask them about a car, they know about it. When it's coming out, what's the model number, the sneakers, everything they know about. The money, the stock exchange, everything. They can talk hours about it. But one simple Hispanic or African American person comes and says, I like your religion, can you tell me about it? 1 second, let me call the sheikh. Moulana Mikaeel, I have a guy here, he wants to know about Islam. Okay, what is he, a doctor or a priest or something? No, he works for me. He usually make the rice and stuff like this. So talk to him about Islam. I don't know what to say to him. The other day I asked you about how's your son, and you told me 1 hour about how he's going to college, and he's got this degree, and he's mastering this and that. Now you don't know how to tell him about who Allah is and who is Rasulullah? Can you please come? 12 o'clock at night. Can you please come to my store and talk to him? Now if I say no, then this is, we don't want someone to get hidayat. What's wrong with you? So this is what happens. We know so much about the dunya, but when we're asked about the akhirah, we don't know anything. This was the mushrikeen, of course, that all the different things of the dunya they know. You ask them, they know about it. Even Allah Ta'ala here said ظاهرا. ظاهرا, the tanween, those what we call, those in Urdu, ظاهرا. Tanween sometimes comes for kathrat, it gives a more meaning, it means kathir, and sometimes it means for qillat. It means very less, very little. So Allah Ta'ala is also saying here that they know the exterior of dunya, but even the exterior they know a very little bit about it. They don't know a lot about it. That's why they're all night under the microscopes and they're discovering other things and things are developing and the cars are getting faster and the computers are getting faster. Why? We are discovering things every day that we didn't know before. Every day we're discovering things and it's developing and developing. So Allah Ta'ala says, ظاهرا. The exterior, they only know a little bit of it. They think they know a lot. They don't know much. There's so much out there. من الحياة الدنيا, from the world life. وهم عن الآخرة هم غافلون. But in regards to the hereafter, they are totally oblivious, totally unmindful. They don't know anything about it, about the akhirah. Are you going to be raised? Allah is going to ask you. There's no thought about it. I'm going to die. What's going to happen after? They don't think about it. This is the reason why the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come right before them. But لا يعلمون. They don't even know about it. They don't even understand that this is the promise of Allah Ta'ala coming to light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now gives them some advice. Those who are ghafil in the dunya, He gives them some advice that how you can get closer to me and how you can start understanding and realizing. And Allah Ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ ما خلق الله السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إلا بالحق وأجل مسمى وإن كثيرا من الناس بلقاء ربهم لكافرون. Allah Ta'ala says, have they not pondered over their own selves? Have they not looked at their own physical makeup? We've talked about this before. The body, the inside of the body, how we are living, we're breathing every day. This incredible machine that Allah Ta'ala has built within us. Don't they make some tafakkur about that? Don't they understand that? Or it could mean also, do they not think to themselves? Just take it. Why don't they start thinking in their own mind and ponder a little bit that what? ما خلق الله السماوات والأرض إلا بالحق. Allah Ta'ala has not created the skies, nor has He created the earth, and that's in between it, except as a reality. It's not written in some book that there's a sky and there's an earth and we can't see it. It's right before you. It is haq right in front of you. You're standing all the time on the earth, and you are seeing the sky. It's above you wherever you go, and everything that's between it, whether it's the trees and the plants, whether it's the stars, whatever it is, everything as a reality Allah Ta'ala has created right before your eyes. وَأَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, and Allah Ta'ala has created it with a specific time. أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. Ajal means waqt. Musamma means ta'yin, mu'ayyan. Waqtun mu'ayyan. Meaning it is going to finish. The skies and the earth and that, it will be done. The earth will perish one day. Allah Ta'ala says, وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ لَكَافِرُونَ. And there are so many, most of the people, there are so many that they are rejecting, they are disbelieving in the meeting with their Lord. They don't even believe that they will go and meet their Lord and have to take account of what they used to do. So the first thing Allah Ta'ala is telling them to try and get closer and try to see the promises of Allah Ta'ala and recognize them, tafakkur. Start thinking about, look at how the sky and everything is created, and think about that you're going to meet me one day. If they cannot think to their own selves, and that's a problem, then go to the outside and look around you. And Allah Ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ كَانُوا أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً وَأَثَارُوا الْأَرْضَ وَعَمَرُوهَا أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا عَمَرُوهَا وَجَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلُهُم بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ فما كان الله ليظلمهم ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون. Allah Ta'ala says that if you cannot ponder over yourself, ponder over other people, think about their lives. أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا, don't they travel in the earth? فَيَنْظُرُوا, and they look. كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ, what was the result of the people before them? And this we talked about so many times, the Mushriki Mecca, in their traveling in tijara and their business. They used to go to Yemen and Sham, and they used to pass by the ruins of the people from before. Qawmi Aad, Qawmi Thamud, some went to Misr also. They saw where Fir'aun and all. They saw the things. They saw the ruins of the people who passed before. Take a look at them. What was their result? How they perished and passed away. Kanu, and what were they? Kanu ashadda minhum quwwa. Those people were much more stronger than you. You are in the desert eating dates and milk in tents. You've got no water. You're fighting over water. Those people, they used to have so much. They were stronger than you. Qawmi Aad and Thamud, very strong. They said they used to pull the tree out from the roots. You can see their houses. They used to carve the houses into the mountains. They were stronger than you. وَأَثَارُوا الْأَرْضِ, and they lived in the earth. They inhabited the earth more than you inhabited the earth. وَعَمَرُوهَا, and they built in the earth also more than you built in the earth. وَعَمَرُوهَا أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا عَمَرُوهَا. They had big buildings, and those buildings are there also. They did a lot more cultivation and a lot more building than you, and they were stronger than you. And what happened to them? وَجَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلُهُم بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, and their messengers came with clear proofs. Allah Ta'ala says, فَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُم. It wasn't appropriate that Allah Ta'ala would oppress them. Allah doesn't oppress anybody. He gives them a chance. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. But they were the ones that oppressed their own selves. They were the ones that turned away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and oppressed their own selves. The last ayat we'll do today. ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَن كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. Allah Ta'ala says, ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ. Then those who committed the evil, those who committed الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا, then those who committed evil, their punishment was the worst evil. So ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةً, then the punishment الَّذِينَ of those people أَسَاءُوا, who did evil. Su'a, su'a, this is what we call ism tafzeel, the worst evil. Aswa, it's a female word for aswa, su, and this means Jahannam. The punishment of those who did evil was the worst evil. And what was that worst evil? They got Jahannam. They got the hellfire. May Allah Ta'ala protect us. Why? أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, because they denied the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala gave them many signs, sent them prophets and miracles and everything. Sent them books, but they denied it, and they never had أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. As Allah Ta'ala is showing, most of them, they didn't believe in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they denied the signs of Allah Ta'ala. وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And not even that, they mocked at it also. They mocked at the signs of Allah Ta'ala. When the prophets brought miracles, they mocked at it. When the prophets did things, they mocked at it. When the promise of Allah Ta'ala came in front of them, they mocked it and they made fun of it and they joked about it. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He punished them, and then hereafter they will get the fires of Jahannam. May Allah Ta'ala protect us all. We've completed one ruku, inshallah. We'll carry on next week with the Surah Al-Rum.